To remain updated with the latest business news, click on the bell icon.
Hi folks, you're tuned into Business Today. I'm Sakshi Batra and this is the second edition of our latest offering, The Cover, a show where we share some sneak peeks and insights into the latest Business Today magazine issue. Joining right in on the show with me, I have Mr. Sourav Majumdar, editor, Business Today, and Krishna Gopalan, deputy editor, Business Today magazine. Welcome, gentlemen, and thank you so much for taking the time out. Saurav, to you first. I want to start off with you by saying that our previous issue, Best Banks, was receiving super response. Even our show was loved by a whole lot of audiences as well. So congratulations to you and to Krishna as well. And now about the latest issue that we already have. It's already out on the stands for all our audiences to see. The Business Today next issue is out on the stands. Help us with some more insights. Why is Salil Parekh, the CEO of Infosys, on the top of the cover?
Sakshi, thank you for the kind words. I must say that this issue itself also is a very important one for Business Today because it is the annual compendium of India's best CEOs. And as you know, today's business environment is such that the role of the CEO is become very, very important. And that is because, you have complete uncertainty. You do not know what the next few months or years will bring. So strategic intent of the CEO becomes so important. Now, we put Salil Parekh on the cover because he's, of course, we have categories. Krishna will discuss more about that. In the large companies category, Infosys came out trumps. The jury selected Salil Parekh for the manner in which Parekh has been able to actually navigate this company. You remember Infosys was not known in the news for the right reasons not very long back because of the problems with the promoters, etc. But Salil Parekh has really navigated the company back to pole position among tech companies. And it's really a darling of the investors as well. So things are going well for Infosys. And I think a lot of credit goes to Salil Parekh for his leadership. And that is the reason why we put him on.
Absolutely. Saurav, I want to understand from you. Now, this study also has been an ongoing one and you've seen it through the years. What have been the key differentiators this time around in selecting the top CEOs?
Well, I think, Sakshi, the differentiator critically has been that of the ecosystem around us. Because today, post-pandemic, last year also, of course, was the bang in the middle of the pandemic. Now, the whole, FY21, which is the period of this study, is actually one where a lot of the changes have had, their deep impact on corporate performance. And therefore, across sectors, how a CEO navigates, like I said in the beginning, how the CEO navigated that post-pandemic and pandemic scenario, even lockdowns and beyond, how that happened, once the economy started opening up, how they managed to, most importantly, the empathy the CEOs shown for their employees. That's a key element. If you see most of the stories we have in this issue, leadership and empathetic leadership is very critical. I think that was also one of the very important issues which the jury took note of. And of course, it shows on performance. So all of that put together.
Absolutely, you're right there. Krishna, would you like to add on to that? Just like how Saurav said that, perhaps empathy and not getting the maximum profits this time around was was more meritorious this time around in selecting the top CEOs. Has that really come across the sectors that you've chosen the best CEOs from?
Yes, without a doubt. I'll just perhaps look at it a little differently. We have a range of companies. We speak so much of Kashmir to Kanyakumari. In this case, it's actually Kolkata to Coimbatore. So you look at Coimbatore, we have a company called KPR Mill, very well known in that part of the country, and they've made their mark nationally as well. During the lockdown, factories were shut for at least 3 to 4 weeks. They told the employers, you don't worry about anything. You will not go back home. You sit here, the factory is shut, your salary will be protected, but don't worry about food or shelter. So to my mind, that kind of a story emanating from a smaller part of India really makes the cut. And the beauty of this issue is we've almost navigated, I can say with some level of confidence, navigated almost every part of India.
Saurav, I want to come to you also. The large part of this year has been extremely critical for most of the businesses and CEOs to ensure that vaccinations go through for most of their employees. If you could highlight, how have you seen this study emerge in this issue as well?
No, in fact, vaccination, at the moment vaccinations were available from last year on, I think most of these big companies and small companies started ensuring that the employees were signing up for vaccinations. Most of them facilitated vaccinations for employees across the board, and I think that along with employee well-being, which is what, like Krishna said, KPR Mill is one company which has really set the bar very high in terms of empathy for employees, and there are many others, big and small. Tata Group, I must come to some of the other awards. For instance, you have Ratan Tata, who's been conferred the Lifetime Achievement Award by the jury, unanimous by the jury decision. But the fact is, if you see Ratan Tata as well, the one of the key elements of Tata Group's leadership style is empathetic leadership. And I want to emphasize this because we are at a situation where the pandemic is not necessarily behind us. You never know what the future will bring, and leadership, which is which sort of marries the two twin objectives of corporate profitability with empathy, is going to be the differentiator. And that is where most of these leaders, from Ratan Tata to Salil Parekh to TCS's Gopinathan, all of them have really made the cut on that count for sure.
Right, so we're talking about vaccinations, and Krishna, I want to bring you in here, and I wanted to ask you that you put Adar Poonawala also in one of your covers inside the magazine. So tell us about him and the achievements in this entire space, the role he has played amid this pandemic.
I must clarify this. It's really a special jury mention. So I think it was really a case of the jury kind of deciding that this person was worthy of the award given the pandemic and what he had managed to do. So this is in a classic sense. It's not like a listed company. We look at the financials, but the absolute contribution he made at the most critical time. So what Serum has done in terms of the vaccination program, in terms of ensuring that all of us are vaccinated in time and coming up with the breakthrough innovation, I think left the jury with no choice except to go with him as one of the options.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to give a sneak peek to all our viewers about some of the rare pictures that you put of Ratan Tata with JRD Tata inside the issue. And Krishna, I also want to understand from you, some of the most human stories have actually come through in this copy as well. Share some of those insights as well as to how people will be able to relate to those human stories in this issue.
I must be honest with you. We didn't start out with doing that, but once it came about, it was a pleasant surprise and an absolutely welcome one. But what stood out for me was it's just not about the sense of, it's not a sense of empathy for just people living in India. It was fascinating to hear what Tata Steel, for example, was doing for its workers sitting in the UK, for example, after the buyout of Chorus, or what Infosys is doing for its staff sitting in the United Kingdom or let's say in the US. So the whole thing of just telling people, look, this is a real pandemic. It is business as usual, but just ensure that everything's on track from a health point of view. Because what stood out for me in this particular thing was the absolute emphasis on HR. A company can be what it is, but frankly, it means nothing without the people. I think that thought process seems to have gone down extremely well. And to my mind, I think the next phase of the development, be it in India or globally, is going to really have HR at the focus or really at the core of it. I think to my mind, that's a single largest takeaway.
I must add here, Sakshi, if I may just jump in here, is that alongside employee engagement, which is a critical element, and the PwC CEO survey overall, the global PwC CEO survey, which they put out earlier this year, the India part also shows that, not just our survey, but also the overall PwC survey, there's this common factor where employee engagement, employee centricity, and customer centricity. If you read the Infosys story, you will see how Salil Parekh is completely fixated and his entire company is fixated on customer centricity, that whole element of one Infosys, so that the entire company comes together from various sectors, various verticals to suggest the best way out for the customer.
Absolutely. And last word from both of you. I want to understand from you, what would you really tell all our viewers who are watching us on this show, as far as why this issue is an absolute must read for them? Because I think, in a way, this will definitely bring people to understand how the top leaders from various sectors are really thinking about how they want to run their companies in the post-pandemic world. We are up for new challenges now. We are amid the geopolitical scenario as well. How does one really get very connected to the top leadership of their companies as well?
That's a very good question, Sakshi. And I must say that, this issue is actually a lesson in leadership. And I don't say it because we've put it out. I say this because if you see across the board, and we have 22 companies there, 22 companies from various sectors, which have actually come out and, not just shown the way in which they've navigated this pandemic and beyond. Now, we are looking at various forms of leadership. And that is a great lesson for management students, for students of you who are actually looking at becoming future leaders and understanding even to connect, like you said, with their own leaders.
That is a big takeaway. Krishna, would you like to add to that?
Come to a point where they believe nothing will be taken for granted. The pandemic has been such a serious wake-up call. The sense of humility, the sense of accepting the inevitable nature of a situation, I think has come out well. And the fact is the business model, therefore, much as you can kind of question a company, how is a business model supposed to face something like a pandemic? So I think they recognize the fact that not only do you need to be robust, but extremely flexible as well and quick to react to a market that's absolutely dynamic. So the sense of readiness that they will need to exhibit over the next few years, I think is what is going to separate the men from the boys.
Okay, understood that. Saurav, I also wanted to ask you on the innovations that you've done on the cover, if you could tell all our viewers so that they get to know what exactly was the thought behind it and how it's going to be, going forward from here on as well.
Yeah, Sakshi, as we've discussed earlier also in the anniversary issue, the 30th anniversary issue, which was a bumper issue, we had in fact 7 covers, 6+1. So, the whole idea of having multiple covers in a magazine like ours is to showcase the might of the stories inside and, highlight some of the stories which need not be the main cover, but there's almost like another cover. So these are the inside covers are actually to showcase, in this case, it is to showcase some of the other key awards or the other key winners. Now you have Salil Parekh on the cover, yes, but you do have Ratan Tata getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, Adar Poonawalla getting a special jury mention award, like Krishna said, not a listed company, but a special jury mention. They insisted that he should be felicitated this year for his yeoman service to healthcare and vaccination for India and the world. And the third one is, of course, the champion of champions, who we've not discussed at all, which is Rajiv Jain of Bajaj Finance. Now, he's a guy who's transformed that company into a behemoth, which is now a fintech at the core of it. It's entirely digital transformation of amazing proportions and a great one for the shareholders as well. So these 3 people also needed to be sort of highlighted to the readers, and that's the whole idea behind the 3 special.
Well, absolutely. On that note, I want to thank both of you, Krishna and Saurav, for sharing these wonderful insights with all our viewers.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.